Hey, I'm Pusher, and this is another Music Minute where we talk about how music works. And today we're doing a breakdown of Mura and Charli XCX's One Night. Released about a year ago in March of 2017, this is one of my favorite tracks from Mura's eponymous debut album. Charli XCX has also had a really great run over the past few years, releasing some very cutting-edge and cool bubblegum bass with some of my favorite producers. Of course, Mura here, and also Sophie and A.G. Cook of the PC Music crew. And I think this song combines what Charli XCX and Mura do and finds a really nice middle ground. It's sort of halfway pop and halfway melancholy dance music. So I really wanted to analyze a Mura song just because he's one of my favorite producers. And while he's got more popular songs like Lovesick with A$AP Rocky or Firefly, One Night is a bit more recent, and there's just something about the song that draws me in. So I wanted to take a deeper look at what appears on the surface to be a very simple and sparse song and see what I can learn from it. So let's start with the global information. It's at 113 BPM, halfway between the slow 100 BPM grooves of hip-hop and the faster, more aggressive dance tempos of 120 to 128 BPM house music. It's in C minor, the relative of E flat major, and then of course it's in 4/4 and it runs for 3 minutes and 27 seconds. And the song from start to finish contains 96 bars. Here's a list of all the instruments that occur in the song. For vocals, we have Charli XCX singing either solo or doubled with harmonies or doubled with unisons, and then in the chorus there's a hook melody. In the effects department, we have a vinyl texture. There are little textured risers that sound sort of like reversed breaths, and then there's like a turntable rewind sound that happens once in the song. For leads, there's a harp sound that happens once in a while, but it's used almost as an effect as a riser to swell and increase the intensity, leading into section changes. There are 3 chords that handle the main hook. There's a kalimba off the top, then there's a steel pan that takes it over in the choruses, and in the outro it's taken over by a synth bell kind of sound. There's also a chord pad swell that happens in a similar way to the harp, as a way to increase the intensity leading into section changes. There are 3 different bass sounds. There's a loose one, there's sort of a medium one, and then there's a tight one, and they're used in 3 different sections. We'll talk about what I mean by that a little later. And then in the drums, we've got some fun panning in the hi-hats, some hard left and right stuff. There's a small clap, a medium clap, and a bigger snare, each used in its own way to create syncopation around the backbeat, instead of just landing on 2 and 4, sort of syncopating around those beats. And then in typical Mura fashion, a kick that only comes in for the drop sections. Now let's take a look at the form of the song. The song can be divided into 2 major acts. Each act contains a 16-bar verse, an 8-bar pre-chorus, and a 16-bar drop. The song is also then bookended by an 8-bar intro and outro. So the whole song runs 96 bars, and each of the 2 acts is 48. Now I could be wrong about this, but it seems to me like this type of 2-act form comes mostly from electronic dance music, where a typical pop song would have 3 sections, like the Bruno Mars and Cardi B Finesse remix that I analyzed last time. The first act would have a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. The second act would be the same as the first act, but with some variations, to repeat all of the themes and get it into your head. And then the third act has a bridge as some kind of change, and then a chorus to end the song. But dance music forms tend to split into 2 equal parts. You have a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus, but then you would have a drop section that features the production it's meant to be danced to. It's similar to guitar solos in rock music. And then you basically just do that again. Now the addition of 2 long drop sections meant to be danced to increases the length of the song. So to get to that magic 3.5 minute pop song length, you can only really do the form twice. If you were to tack a bridge and a chorus to the outro of this thing, it would be 4 minutes or more. And also these choruses, these drops are extended enough that I feel like it gets the idea across in only 2 repetitions. Now my understanding is that to get a song stuck in someone's head, you need to repeat that chorus 3 times. So it's difficult to say if only having 2 acts is hurting the memorability of this song, but on the other hand, there are some cool tricks that are used in this song that we're about to get to that could make up for that. As far as differences between acts 1 and 2 is mostly minor variations, but the biggest one for sure is that there are drums in the first half of the second verse, where in the first verse there were none. And the idea here is just to keep the momentum going after the first chorus. And now for some of my big takeaways, the things I learned from analyzing this song. There are a few different tricks that are cool that are used in the vocals. One vocal production trick that this song has in common with the Bruno Mars Finesse remix is the echo delay on a single word to fill in space. Something special. And create sort of a background layer to the vocals. Another trick is a changing reverb level. In the verses there's some reverb on the vocals, but in the pre-choruses you can hear there's noticeably more. You are something special. But I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go back. As for the choruses, it's hard to tell. It sounds like it might be reduced in the choruses because the intensity is made up for by other things like drums. Another trick is the changing way that the main vocal line is harmonized. In the first half of the verse, it's a solo line, which makes it more personal, more vulnerable. You are something special. and that sort of mimics the lyrical content. In the second half of the verse, there are very pretty harmonies, sort of draws you in.
We had a connection.
And then in the pre-chorus and chorus, it's doubled in unison, which makes it sound stronger and more confident.
But I wanna go back to where we were.
One other cool trick I noticed is that in the second verse relative to the first verse, there are less effects on the vocals.
Special reaction.
Now this is after the chorus, which is the biggest section in the song. And what we're doing is we're reducing the intensity of the second verse by taking aspects out of the vocals so that we've got more room to grow into the second chorus. This also makes up for the fact that there are now drums in the second verse that are increasing the intensity. So it's sort of a balancing act. By adding drums in one place, you can take stuff away from the vocals to create a more dynamic movement between sections. Some cool writing tricks. The use of a harp lead and a pad swell is a cool way to replace the overused pitch and white noise risers that you would normally hear in dance music.
It was only one night, but I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go. Do you wanna go?
And what's very cool is that the chord and the melody are combined into one sound. Sneaking two variables, chords and melody, into one part is an efficient way to get across two ideas without having the clutter of too many sounds. Now your melody and your chords are working together. And if you listen through the song, the melody that's established on top of the chords right at the intro, it never stops happening through the whole song. In fact, it's the main hook melody that Charli XCX sings in the chorus. So this is like a 2-for-1 deal here, getting your melody and your chords all established at the same time with one sound. A great arrangement trick is the use of 3 different bass sounds. So you have a loose one for the verses, you have a medium one for the pre-choruses, and then the chorus or the drop, you've got a very tight sub.
You are something special.
The looser basses tend to hold notes for longer, they've got a longer release, they've got more high frequency information.
But I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go.
Where the tighter ones tend to be more about the low frequency rumble with not too much high frequency information. The notes start and end more quickly, and as a result he's able to fit in more melodic information and write a more detailed part with the sub. There's a great video from the early days of the Red Hot Chili Peppers where Flea and Chad Smith sit down and talk about how the kick and the bass can interlock to create a groove. And the chorus of this song is a good modern example of how the interplay between the kick and the sub can create an interesting groove.
Do you wanna go? It was only one night.
There's some interesting stuff happening with the drums. The panning of the hi-hats I thought was really interesting. You've got a shaker panned hard right, you've got a hi-hat panned hard left, and then you've got a hi-hat and a shaker right in the center.
But I wanna go. Do you wanna go? Do you wanna go back to where we were? It was only one.
Now these don't always all happen at the same time. Sometimes you just have it in the right, or sometimes you got it in the right and the left, and then you've got a shaker in the center just for the choruses. And the interplay between these 3 aspects creates a more interesting stereo field. Just lots of fun stuff to listen to in this mix. Of course, the big moment in the song is when the kick finally comes in, and having that restraint to not have the kick going from the start and to save the groove for the chorus is one of Mura Massa's strengths in his writing.
But I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go. Do you wanna go? Do you wanna go? It was only one night.
There's of course the use of 3 different types of snares in this song. You've got a small clap that plays a more syncopated rhythm.
We had a connection.
You've got a medium clap with more texture.
But I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go.
And then you've got the tighter snare for the choruses.
Do you wanna go?
Having different snare and clap sounds is a really good way to create contrast between different sections. It's pretty easy, really. So you can get a lot of mileage out of having different layers of snares, like a small one, a medium one, a large one, or nothing at all. And then of course there are drums in the second verse where there were none in the first verse to keep that momentum going in the song after the first chorus.
Got that chain reaction. I didn't know what it was worth.
and a few little production things that I thought were interesting. In the very intro of the song, basically all you're getting is this kalimba melody. It's cute, it's got a lot of attack, it's got a nice resonance, but it doesn't quite fill up the mix. So you'll notice that there's also delay, and there's like a vinyl record crackle effect in there. Now the vinyl crackle only happens in the first 3 sections of the song, and it never happens again, which means it was just being used in the intro to fill up the mix where perhaps the kalimba felt a little too sparse on its own. Instead of just using a pitch riser or a white noise filter sweep, we're using a harp and a pad swell.
But I wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go back to where we were. I just wanna go. Do you wanna go?
But while also getting across some rhythmic or melodic or textural information. This song does a great job of making each part do multiple jobs, so that you can have a fully arranged pop song with very few instruments, but still pack in a lot of content to keep it interesting without it getting overcluttered. When there are more straight up risers in this song, instead of just being filter sweeps, they sound more like breaths or paper sounds.
But I had to let you go.
And then the last point is the alternating between the kalimba, the steel pan, and the synth bell. The kalimba starts off the top because it's got a lot of resonance and it's got a strong attack. It's a great sounding instrument. But then when we get to the choruses, it changes to this steel pan.
Do you wanna go?
My theory as to why he's using a steel pan in the choruses is that it's got a more interesting timbre, and it's also got a lot less attack on it. So as well as getting a subtle change into a new section, you're also getting an instrument that perhaps blends in better at a time when you want to be focusing more on what's happening with the vocal or the kick and snare and bass rhythm. And then at the very end of the song, this chord is taken over by a synthy bell sound.
It was only one night. Do you wanna?
This does 2 things. It keeps the song fresh until the very end by giving you something a little bit new to listen to. And if you were to listen to the song on repeat like I've been doing, then there's a change between the synth bell sound at the end of the song and the kalimba that starts off the beginning of the song. And that's your Music Minute. If you have questions or comments, or if you think I missed something or I'm way off base, or if you've got suggestions for the next song I should analyze, leave them in the comments and I'll check them out. But until next time, thanks for watching.